Hello, Simply Exploring and Adventuring with Lewis. Today I'm coming to you, as you can see behind me, from the Cornwall Iron Furnace here up in Cornwall, Pennsylvania. We are here for two reasons. One, we're going to do the tour here, as well as we are here for a separate event too as well. There is a Civil War living history U.S. detachment of engineers as well. So we are walking down the driveway here. So we're here, the parking lot already, and it's pretty well full. And then we're here for the show the importance of the iron furnace during the Civil War times. So oh wow. So they're doing an encampment here as well. Here. That is neat. Oh, I'm gonna get a few pictures here really quick. And the gentleman. Showing what they probably would have eaten during those days. He's probably showing his lunch right now. Yeah, but this is what they would have probably had consumed. Oh wow, it's the U.S. Sanitary Commission. Nice crackling fire. I guess they do this often enough that they have this permanent pit here. And there's all the implements. So this, I'm not sure if it's like, well, it's not a field hospital.
Yes, it is, but well, it's been seasoned. It's not cooked. Okay, you really should. You could eat it, I suppose, but it's supposed to be cooked.
Hello.
You can see here. Man has his own loaf of bread and a cup of coffee. No. they you know, obviously if you can fry things, they often would soak it up with the
How you doing?
bacon grease.
Hardtack.
It's hardtack. That's the soft bread that they made.
So this is a field kitchen?
I I'm not a field kitchen. I'm cooking for the staff, which is why I have all these extra canned goods. And Colonel likes to eat, so I buy extra things. These are not bought out of Army stores.
Okay.
Okay. I can buy out of officers can buy out of Army stores, or they can buy their own food.
Okay.
And especially if you're wealthy, you bring in extra food stuffs. So that allows me to do that. Like I said, marching rations, 8 to 10 hardtack crackers a day. Pound and a quarter, pound and a half salt pork or salt beef. You could get beans. These are split peas. Beans. There's rice here. You could get rice. You don't get all of this. You get some of it. A little bit of salt. Either coffee most of the time or tea. I just have bags of things here. Rice. That's more than just cooking, but it's a lot of things about soldiers. And that was an article or a pamphlet put together by a captain, because when the men first got into the service, they had no idea how to cook, and some of them were, detailed as cooks, so he didn't know anything to do. I mean, men don't cook; women cook. Really?
They didn't know how to cook.
The men? No.
Well, I understand the chores were very divided.
Right.
I thought that was.
Not really. Most of them would have no idea how to cook. Excuse me, I'm going to watch this thing over here. Please look at the books. The canned goods are all what would have been available. They're not bought out of Army stores, like I said.
Union Army. Camp cooking. And meat.
Where do you get this?
Culinary history of the soldier. That's cool.
Did you make the hardtack?
I did not. I bought it years ago. The company's out of business now. That's the last hardtack I have left. You can make it. I just haven't. It's not very hard. You just have to get a hardtack press and then mold.
Oh, wow.
It's just flour and water baked.
Yeah.
Hard. I get the
Hardtack and coffee. Unwritten story of
pilot
Army life.
crackers or ship's biscuit.
Cool.
Same thing.
Oh, wow. Neat. So we're going to, I'm sure I'm doing this out of order, so we'll go around the car. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been. Last summer, maybe the summer before, maybe during COVID.
How do they get those?
I don't know, but if I couldn't get the cannons off the top of Devil's Den before they moved them from Smith's batteries,
Yeah. You can't.
I couldn't imagine taking it. People steal the dumbest stuff. And then what are you going to do? Show up to, like Jefferson Recycling with a...
Oh, look at that. The weaponry they would have used. That's a big, oh, I thought that was a bayonet. Okay, that's a bayonet.
And when they went back, that gun was that jammed with a firing quicker or something like that.
Or railroad track.
When they picked them up, I mean, like,
I saw records.
Cartridges.
Now, and I'll finish this one.
oh, okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Okay.
No, so when the war started, the North and the South both, they sent people all over the world. Between the Northern and the Southern armies, almost 4 million of this rifle were purchased specifically for the war because they needed it. So they also brought in like the Austrian Moran rifles, to bring them in now.
Train derails. Now we have it, and yeah.
remember
Much
you
like when the
got
guys get in trouble on.
basically it came down to something like they picked up say 40,000.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
50% of those were
The one guy had a.
10% were loaded with more than 10 of them. And 4%
My dad, when he was in the military, he used to hold it on the back of the tank.
and that was like the ordnance department. That's my job. So that would have I would have been. Yeah, it did happen. And a lot of it was some of the guys didn't want to buy it. So they would just keep it going.
And as you can see, this is the field hospital. Sweet. Quality.
I mean, we're mapping pretty much. Yeah, that's only a small portion of what we actually have been on. Regulation medication.
The field medicines.
Sure.
Oh, that's the standard supply table. Oh, you can take a picture of.
I just want to get a picture of the page and stuff. Thank you.
Hello.
But you can see it was in Latin,
Right.
and then the way it was broke down. This is early war. This was before the supply system was changed. It went by how many men you had,
As far as
how much you had.
That's really amazing.
So you would go. So that's the medicine supply list. Okay. And then you would actually go into instruments, pockets, all that stuff.
Oh, that's everything in that
Yep.
medical.
Was it hard to get all the medicines out in the field where they were
Hospital
needed?
stores. That's my favorite. Arrowroot, barley, cinnamon,
Well, they
cloves,
had-
cocoa, farina, ginger.
I'm just trying to figure out what the cinnamon
There
is
was a
for.
couple different
It was used
ways they carried stuff. The
for
here,
cooking, but it was also
So they okay.
sometimes if
But
they
some of
made
the other,
pills,
like the early medicine chests, too,
because if you have a wet
so a lot of things broke.
when you let them dry,
And then they started doing this. These were tins. These were actually tins. And the color is called Japanic.
you know,
Japanic.
all the way down to
They
you know,
use these so they didn't break as much.
binders,
But, you know, so they always,
linen
well, if
measures,
they had one of
measures
these,
here,
they would have them in
pencils,
the
pins, and
This was the basic. There was the
Ring
53
gauges.
medications.
We did
that
like
were, extra. But they had medicine wagons always available.
in their,
There was
you know, and then it goes on. Here's our amputating kits. Here's the articles, basins, dippers, cups, and then so that's the general and post hospitals. Now you got a list for field service.
Yes.
Different. You know, there were things that they had in general hospitals that we didn't have. Then you go through things again, bedding, books, instruments, and what we would actually do is we would, whenever we needed something.
Okay, doing good. Very good. You have a job back there.
Yeah, the field office right over there.
This is the reproduction.
that's medication.
Well, it would run up through the. Yep.
Chain of command.
You write down according to your supply list, and then it
How
would
long
go.
would it take to get?
Depends where you were.
Yeah.
Depends what you needed.
Okay. We're holding up.
If you're
Nope,
you're in
you're
a
fine.
if you're in a
I'm listening in.
post hospital, you're going to get it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because it may only have to come across town from a medical purveyor. If you're, you know, out in the field somewhere, where's the closest medical purveying depot? How are they going to get it there? Is it going to come by train? Is it going to come by wagon? Is it going to come, you know? So it's interesting if you look into, you know, this kind of stuff. The regulations say this, but now let's throw in, where are you? What are you doing? What are the Confederates doing? All this and that. Some surgeons went through their entire service and had a want for nothing. They had plenty of medicines, instruments, bedding. They had everything they needed. There were some that went through 3 years of service and never had adequate supplies. All depends on where you were, what you were doing, what your commanding officer, and I say that as the commanding officer, the commander of the corps, or, you know, because as the chief surgeon, I answer to the commander for the Army. Okay? He can tell me, no, you're not doing this. No, you're not doing this.
Yeah.
You know,
Interesting.
look at General or Meade. Meade, during the Battle of Gettysburg, would only let Dr. Letterman bring up partial supplies. That's why some of it didn't reach the battlefield till 4 days after. You know, and Letterman actually said, you know what, I don't care what you say at this point, I'm bringing it up. You know, and at one point in time, he actually made him push his ambulance wagons farther to the rear so that he could keep the roads open for ammunition trains. So, yes, to command staff. You talk to a medical staff.
Right.
If you don't let me,
I can see the different priorities.
if you don't let me treat your soldiers, you're not going to have any soldiers to fight your battle.
Right.
But
I got it.
so it's very interesting, depending on what you're looking at
Yeah.
as to what it was.
So are you still looking for materials? Because I know of a really good antiques place that always has this type of stuff in Lancaster, Tackleberry Farms. It's on Route 30, east of the city. So just remember Tackleberry Farms. It's one of those big antique co-ops, and they've always got all sorts of.
I've heard of it.
I know what you're talking about.
Heard it.
You know that
Yep,
place.
I'm from Lancaster. So.
Yeah, that,
Yeah.
if you want to look for stuff, that's where you go.
Because some of the stuff you can't get in reproduction,
Oh, I'm sure.
and you know, some of the stuff when you get originals, you don't want to bring it out because if something happens to it,
Of course.
you can't even replace it.
Yeah, they're replaceable.
So it's a mix, you know.
You need to go in the Antiques Roadshow and get an estimate as to what some of these things are worth.
Well, I think a lot of these are reproductions.
A lot of the bottles are reproductions. Some are original, some are older, but they're
That
not.
looks real.
You
that
never
looks
know.
real.
Yeah.
You said these are all real.
I don't know about the
Mortar and pestle?
mortar and pestle. They may be later period, but they're close, you know.
Signed.
Is it? I wouldn't be surprised if it's something I don't even know what it
U.S.
is.
Grant.
Grant. Not my favorite.
Oh, well. Good talking to you folks.
All right.
Have a great
Thanks for
day.
stopping.
Yes, thank you.
Sweet.
Do you have any questions?
I mean, beyond the scope of nurses, how instrumental were women in the Civil War? I mean, in the medical field.
Well, where is she? Our nurse is actually down there. She can talk to you a
Oh,
lot
okay.
better about nursing.
Okay.
And
Invaluable.
and
Invaluable. If you want one word, invaluable.
I'm sure.
You ever hear the famous quote that, who was it? Sherman said about, was it Mother Bickerdale? It may have been Sherman talking about Mother Bickerdale, who was a nurse with some of his group. He said, she outranks me. Yeah. Quite sadly, a lot of the nursing is really not documented that well. There's a lot of information, things that they did that we can only assume. We can only, scientifically, in reality think. But yeah, there's a lot of the women, the civilian nurses, and even the Army nurses. Yeah, very underappreciated.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of things that were changing in the medical field during the American Civil War. You know, some surgeons absolutely refused female nursing. Some tried to get as many as they could. You know, and once again, it goes back to where are you? What are you doing? What's your battle status? You know, things like that. Yeah. A lot of different opinions on that.
I'm sure.
Different opinions, yeah.
Thank you so much for the information. The dreaded kit that was used to cut off limbs and all of that, so probably a surgeon's least. Oh, there's the engineer headquarters. Actually, let me back up a little bit here. How you doing, sir? Engineers implements.
Yep, engineer, topographical engineers for map making.
Ah, yes.
Compasses for direction, chains for distance.
Yep.
We have
Lensatic.
ways to make maps.
Yep.
We would do the line work. We would add color to the maps. We would even add color to the maps.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, because I'll give you. I like the option. A lot of the guys are like.
Is the mortar and pestle paperweight?
Mortar and pestle is what we would use. We would have the colored cakes,
Ah, yes.
and we would mix them up to make that day's watercolor.
Okay.
We carry them in cakes because then it would have a long shelf life.
Right.
Because once you mix it with water, it'll dry out. So we would mix them up, and that's how we'd add our color to the maps.
That's cool.
Yep.
Are you ready to go in? We're gonna buy.
The pens in the day were dipping pens,
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
She enjoyed
Cool.
the tour, by the way.
and then our inks. We'd have our inks.
Ink bottle.
We travel our inks in the
Yeah, she made it home.
right in the ink, and they could
Yep,
carry our
everything went
travel
well.
case for drafting right with us in a box. You know, in a box that would just close up
That's
and
neat.
travel.
Very neat. Portable, very portable.
Yep, everything was
to be-
meant to be portable.
Wow.
So wherever we were, we'd be sketching a map somewhere.
Man's got to eat.
Yes, got to do that.
Field office.
Yep, we'd have field offices. You got the colonels over there. I'm chief of topographical, so I'm over here.
Oh, okay.
And we share for the engineers headquarters. Very good.
Thank you.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, I could take cakes in the field and wind down and make colors. We would add colors. Particularly the maps that were sent back to Washington, D.C. We would actually add colors. Otherwise they were pretty much just lining.
So they're having, like I said, a reenactment. I'm not sure if they might be they might be doing a tour at the moment. Yep, they're doing a tour at the moment, so we'll have to get the next one. So we'll catch the next one Farms of Gettysburg Battlefield. Okay.
And Long Street,
Seen all of these.
his core.
Rock is replacing. They have stickiness. You have 3 more to go.
I always get a kick when I watch these like
So there's the
GEO
Trossel
or
Farm.
something like
That's
that.
the one that has the cannonball stuck
And they
on the
say
side of the
about,
building.
slavery and everything, and then they get to where their ancestors, and I'm talking about black people, they get to their ancestors, and oh, they were slave owners. You know, that was the thing at that time.
Well,
you
see,
know.
back in that time, in the city of Gettysburg, there were almost 200 African Americans that lived in Gettysburg at that time. And that stuff. And there, like Warfield, the Bryant, and who's the other one? Oh, I can't think of it. Oh, Basil Bates.
There's your
He bought a
actual
farm.
Gettysburg Battlefield
Farm
map
was
with
Peter
all the
Fry's.
farms
He
highlighted
was
on
an
it.
African American. He was really big into the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he buys this Peter Fry farm in 1865, and then he went on to become the person that was given the contract to bury all the Union soldiers over in the National Cemetery.
Okay.
What he did was he got $1.05 for every body, and he took a portion of that body. Now, here's the problem. Back then, there was no African Americans allowed to be buried in the National Cemetery.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know why?
No, not really.
They still weren't equal to the whites.
Okay.
They were still having that slavery in the back
Segregation.
of their mind. So Basil Biggs actually took a portion of his money and bought an acre of land on Lincoln Street and Long Lane in Gettysburg. And he created the Goodwill Cemetery, 3 men. And they buried 35 colored troops that were residents of Gettysburg in that cemetery.
Where's that located?
That's, okay, are you familiar with, okay, the best way to find this, you know where the Heritage Center is? It's called the Wax Museum.
Yeah.
Okay, if you walk up, what is that, Steinman Avenue?
Diamond Alley.
You walk up, it's the Heritage Center, the Appalachian Brewery, and then there's a gas station on the corner.
Yeah.
If you go down that street,
Okay.
you go all the way down the day and you'll come to a community park, the Gettysburg Park, Community Park. That's Lincoln Avenue.
Okay.
Okay, if you make a right and you go all the way up through, you'll come to a stop sign. Before you get that stop sign, the cemetery's on the right-hand side.
Okay, it's called Goodwill.
Well, it's called the Lincoln Cemetery now.
Oh, the Lincoln Center.
And that's because what happened was, eventually, he bought an acre of land for $60
Yeah.
to create the cemetery. He sold a portion of that to the Lincoln Elks Lodge that was African Americans. Well, when he did that, they took over the ownership of the cemetery, and then they called it the Lincoln Cemetery. But for a few years, it was called the Goodwill Cemetery because Basil Biggs and the other 2 men, their organization, they were called Men of Goodwill because they wanted to take care of the African Americans properly.
Yeah.
Since they were now by coincidence, I found out that there are 2 African Americans buried in the National Cemetery. One by mistake, okay, and one that is in with the first U.S. regulars.
Yeah.
He's buried in with the U.S. regulars.
Yeah.
He's considered a
Well, you know, again, when you're in battle and you're fighting next to each other, they always say everybody's a Christian because yeah, life is real, and there is no color. So, I mean, he was in his regiment, and it's like we're all going to be buried together. The people who are outside, they're the ones who are, I don't know, how bad it is.
See, and in that cemetery, that national cemetery, you know there's 9 Confederates buried in there by mistake.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Back then, when they did the head markers,
Yeah.
it was basically a board, and then they would take a piece of chalk, black chalk or charcoal, and write who they were, what regiments they were. But with the rain and everything over the years, it would rot some of the way. So guys were mistakenly put in the Massachusetts, where it should have been MISS, Mississippi.
Okay.
If you go in, I think there's 4 Confederates buried in the Pennsylvania section of the buried there. I'm trying to think where they're all, but there's 9 buried, 9 Confederates. And what they decided was, when they found out the mistake that was made, they decided they were not gonna exhume them and send them back. They left them there. Eisenhower, on Eisenhower's farm, she went out, Mamie Eisenhower went out one day with her gardener, and she was going to start a new garden. So he starts digging up this ground to form it, and they uncovered a Confederate soldier there. And she said, let it alone.
Yeah.
Cover it up, then he buried there, and then they put it somewhere else and that stuff there. Yeah. And then the part where Pickett's charge was, that became a training site called Camp Cole for tank training for the First World War. In 1918 it was established on where Pickett's charge would have taken place, the main part of it. The commander was Captain Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Okay.
He was they trained 10,000 tank drivers there. Now, here's the problem. They only had 1 tank that they trained with.
Okay. So you had to stand in line.
A T Renault tank. And they used the Bliss Farm as part of mostly of their training. Now, there's nothing there of the Bliss Farm except a mound. Okay, they use that mound for the tank training to go up and down like. You go on the website, you go on the Blitz Farm, you actually see a picture of Eisenhower and the tank coming out of the tree lines and everything like that.
They're also in Tent City up there when they established Camp Colt during that whirlwind. They had like a little, like Tent City, but it was basically something, and then they had the training ground. They were bringing in big tanks that you see in World War I, like you just mentioned. Basically, they were.
And then they actually, I don't, what year was that they had the Marines come up? 1930 something? That was the one that Rich Court did.
It might have been.
But
I think you're right. I think it was somewhere in the 1930s when they came out and
they marched from Guantanamo, the Marines, just like they would have done back then. Okay, and they came up and they camped on the battlefield. They actually had landing strips where they brought in airplanes on the battlefield and that stuff. And then they recreated the 3 days fighting. Okay, the only difference was that they used modern day weaponry, machine guns and stuff like that. Now of course they were shooting blank, but that was.
I think there's still people, cadets either coming up from West Point or BMI. Sometimes they come up and they do that whole, when they're doing all the studying and the whole topographical thing, they just go out there and they just look over the whole terrain and things. It's still being studied as we're talking. I mean, every so often you'll have. I found this out a couple months ago too on the website. The USS Gettysburg. Some of their company went down and did a dedication for someplace down there on the battlefield. You had some of them guys in the Navy come over. The USS Gettysburg, and they just walked around there or something like that. That was kind of neat when they did it. I mean, they had. I mean, we used to do that too. The round table. They had a cleanup day. When they went down, they cleaned up a monument. I think the one they used to do was the 17th Pennsylvania Cavalry. So.
Wow, you're a book of information.
So this will conclude this video here, this portion of the video of the Civil War encampment here, living history here at Cornwall Iron Furnace. Join me for the actual Iron Furnace tour on another separate video. So if you like content like this, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. Also, you may support me financially on CashApp, SimplyExploVenturing, the money symbol, SimplyExploVenturing on the CashApp, until I build up my subscriber base to move over to Patreon. So if you like what you saw, like I said, like, comment, share, subscribe again. And this will do it from here. So like I always say, go create your own adventure. And I'll see you at the next location. Till then, bye.